So we will get into today. I want to say a massive welcome to everybody. Welcome joining our IANDS Auckland event. It is a beautiful sunny day. I'm so happy to have you all joining us. And boy, have we got a treat today. We have got Tamara Caulder Richardson, who is a 6-time near-death experiencer. She is the leader of the IANDS Charlotte Group over in North Carolina in the US. So she's very familiar with these IANDS groups and how they run and what we're doing here with this group. Now, Tamara had a near-death experience, well, she's had 6 of them, but a near-death experience when she was age 5. And it was when she was traveling to hospital with severe pneumonia that she had this amazing experience where she came out of her body and she got to spend 3 days with Jesus. And when she came back, everything was different for her, even though she was so young. Tamara is the author of Love from Heaven, My 6 Near-Death Experiences, The Gifts I Received and the Wisdom I Learned. And Tamara is known as the Southern Belle Medium. She's an evidential psychic medium, an afterlife speaker, and a spiritual teacher. And I've had the great privilege of spending a little bit of time with Tamara recently. And we had a call the other day and we laughed and laughed. Honestly, it was so funny. And then Tamara blessed me with this reading, which just blew my socks off. Welcome to IANDS Auckland. It is fabulous to have you here. I know we're going to have a blast. I'm going to hand over to you. You can tell us all about your experiences, what you're working on, what's relevant to you, what's in your heart at the moment. And I'm just going to give you free rein to have a blast.
Oh, I love that. Free rein to have a blast. You can't lose with that. Well, look, Kirsty, you're awesome. I love your show, Let's Talk Near Death, and everything that you're doing and how you're just evolving as a soul being is really beautiful to see. And we had a very nice time. Kirsty was on my YouTube show. I want to go ahead and mention that.
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe you can put the links. It's the Seeking, it's on YouTube. It's called Seeking Heaven, the Near-Death Experience and Other Phenomena. And Kirsty was on, and we have had so much fun. And so and the other thing is doing these things where you do the YouTube and you put it up there and then you edit it. It's a lot of work. So, but it's also very rewarding, especially when you meet, people such as yourself. And I felt like we got to be real beings. So, and one of the things that I started my show, The Seeking Heaven, is I wanted to be able to offer a near-death experience as a platform where they can not only talk about their experience, but one of the things that Kirsty and I talked about, I thought we'd just, since there's just a few of us ladies here for right now, that I would mention, my thoughts on that is that near-death experiencers not only have that experience in that moment or those moments of whatever happened. And I mean, you don't have to have a near-death experience to have you could have a spiritually transformative experience, something that opens your eyes. Sometimes, unfortunately, people we love when they pass, it does that. It kind of wakes you up. That's another way. There's different ways. Sometimes a loss, it could be a breakup, and they kind of jolt people into their life purpose and what they're here for. But the thing about near-death experiencers is that it's not something in the past that happened. It's a part of who we are. And to me, we were talking about it being a very sacred experience. And for a long time, I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want anyone invalidating me. And so it is sacred, but because we're all from heaven. We're all children of God. However, when you have a near-death experience, it's kind of like a quick, it's like starting your car quick with cables. It really does connect you. I'm not encouraging people to go out and do that. Okay, there's no shortcuts in life. Your life is what it is. But it does connect you. So we're walking around having this connection to the other side and to God and source, and we're constantly getting information. And I think that's the big secret that a lot of people don't know, is that we're constantly being fed information. And I call it Team God, because we have our loved ones in heaven. We also have, our spirit family, our soul family. There are people, maybe our guides that have been with us lifetimes. We have angels. I always say Team God because there's just a lot over there, and we're not alone, and they do care very much what we're doing. And especially when we ask or pray and say, hey, you know, we need some assistance, we'd like some direction. Sometimes you have to wait and see that unfold, but to know that we, you know, all are connected. So that's why I think, to me, the near-death experiencers are interesting. It's not because of their experience in the past, although some of the stories are pretty amazing. It's who they are now. So you'll have to look at your local IANDS director a little bit differently with Kirsty, because she is a walking connection, and it's not just so. That's what I kind of think on that, my comment on that. I'll go over a couple of my near-death experiences, and then I want to near-death experiences, and then I want to talk about kind of how I've changed, where I am, stuff that's going on now, because some things are changing for me. You know, we're a work in progress, right? All of us.
Definitely.
Right? I mean, this is not perfect. I mean, you know, you learn, you're walking, so we're all a work in progress. I'll tell you a little bit about a background. So my mom had me really young, like 18, and a lot of my near-death experiences are in childhood. And so when she had me at 18, I did have my first one was a prenatal. And you're going, what is that? That's where I had memory before birth, and I almost didn't make it into this world. And I remember everything that was said. I remember looking at my mom from a spirit standpoint, concerned about her, worried about her, and being very cognizant and very aware. And then my first NDE, they're kind of in a row as 3, 4, 5. And so when I was, what was going on, just to kind of give you a background, we lived with my grandparents because they had money. They were like in a big 10,000 square foot house, you know, antebellum. They had a business where they made men's socks, and they literally had 35 machines in their basement. So it was a pretty big house. And so my mom, she, you know, wanted to be out on her own, but she couldn't. So when I was 3, she wanted me to meet this man that she was dating, and he worked at a radio station. He was very flashy, and in a small, it was in Hickory, North Carolina. It's in the U.S., and it's at the foothills of the mountains. And it's funny because where I live in the Carolinas, a lot of Scottish and Irish people migrated here. You'll see a lot of streets like McDougall or what have you. And it looks like Sweden, kind of the bottom of the valley. That's kind of what it looked like. So I used to go to school seeing the mountains every day. And Mom was flashy herself. So she just took to this man, wanted me to meet him. So in that particular, so that was, see, that's my fourth one. Okay. So when I was 3, I was playing with my cousin, and it was, in my uncle's mother-in-law's house, doesn't matter, but it was a big antebellum house, like you'd imagine Gone with the Wind. And there was a nail under a dresser, and I was playing hide and seek, and I was very excited, and I was, you know, squealing, you know, like kids do, like wee, wee, you know, with that screech, and I'm jumping, and there was a nail underneath. I really don't know what it was doing there, but the nail head went through my head, and it was so fast. I must have really been jumping, and I passed out, and I could see everything from above my body, and I thought it was water at first. And when I passed out and I was on the floor, it's kind of an odd sensation. I could feel the floor underneath me, and I could feel my body weight, and then I was out, and I was out looking, you know, I was out looking at from above, but then my senses were greater than now. And then my perceptions were quicker and more robust than just 6 senses. So I looked on the stairwell, and there were beams of light there, and they were popping in. I didn't feel any kind of threat. They sounds really funny. They just seemed really friendly. I didn't know who they were. They seemed really friendly. And I come to, that's a lot of people, because think about it. I'm 3 years old. How many people do I really know? You know, not that many. And so I'm seeing them on the stairwell, and then I'm hearing this voice that I'm looking at this whole scene in this scenario, and then, you know, everything that's kind of going on, what's going on with her. They call my grandmother. It's a small town at this time, so she is not that far. So she comes and gets me. So I'm watching all this stuff from above, and I heard, "This is not your time. You have much to do," and it was not really, I'll say, personal. When I'm looking at my body, I was very indifferent about the whole thing. I'm just watching it. It was like matter of fact, like, okay, then. It was like I knew not to argue with that voice. So when when that happened, it was like I'm back in my body, but I'm still kind of unconscious. We go to the doctor anyway. I had a contusion. I literally had a hole in my head for 2 years, and it's crazy because it can't grow back if you have, you know, it has to grow back naturally because it was in the skull. It sounds awful. Which is really strange now that I'm thinking about it, because Kirsty's also your had to do with the brain, and mine pierced my skull. Yeah. So just saying, if you want a direct connection to the spirit world, that'll do it. Okay.
Just open your head up.
If you open your head up, I mean,
Oh, no.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but it's true. It does. There's something about, and I will say this, other mediums that, not all of them, but like John Holland in the US, he's in Boston. He's a medium, but he, same thing, impacts the head. So things with the head. Yeah, things with the head. So anyway, so then the next year it was the head again. It was the next year, and my mom wanted to meet this man. We're back to the man. This sexy man. She had to have him. He was very flashy, and probably wasn't that going on where she lived. So it was a bad day, icy roads. We call it black ice, where it's very slippery, and the snow. And so she picked me up at my grandmother's house, and I remember, you know, I was looking down, seeing the car because they were kind of up high. You had to walk downstairs the back way to go out, and it was kind of weird. Now I'm thinking about it. He waited in the car. He didn't properly come up and get her. I thought, that's really weird. Anyway, we went out to him. But my grandmother said, I don't feel like you should go out today. We should have listened to her. I think she had intuition and this kind of a thing, but you didn't really talk about stuff like that back then. So we went out and we got pizza. We got ice cream. Well, ice cream, I have no idea because it was cold weather, but and then we went to his radio station. It wasn't his, but he was a DJ there. And then they got into an argument leaving because I believe she wanted to get married and he wasn't ready and he wanted more money, that kind of thing. So he was angry. So he hit the brakes, spun around, and then we ended in this, we T-boned this tree that was in a park, a very big tree, and it didn't totally block in the driver's side, but it was quite an impact. And I went up through the dashboard to the window. I was not sitting in a car seat, pre-car seat days, and it smashed my face. And then as soon as I hit, because the windshield, it was like a Pontiac, it went deep inside. And the minute that I hit that, it didn't break, but we did have an impact. I mean, the car door was crushed in. It was crushed in on the driver's side, but he wasn't hurt. I don't know why, but the impact, as soon as it hit, I guess I just was thrown out of my body, and I was very cold. It didn't last long, but I was very cold, and I was very cold. I'm trying to think, cold, nauseous. I was afraid. It really felt for just a few seconds, really a few seconds. And then I was in this place that was, I wasn't sure really where I was. I was a bit confused, but it was dark, but it wasn't dark like a scary movie dark. It was just dark. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was just dark. Okay. It didn't have an emotion with it, like, oh, this is scary. It was just dark. And I was confused because I didn't know, because I was thinking totally consciously like I am with you guys right now, but I didn't know where my body was. So that's the only thing that threw me off. I was a little confused to where I was. And then I saw a pinhole of a light, and it got closer and closer. And it was Jesus, and he was coming toward me with his hand stretched out. and like this, and in his palms, he had the holes, you know, the nail holes. And then his hair was blowing back, like he was moving toward me, like it was motion. And behind him were my relatives. And what's interesting is the year before, there was a little bird that I had found out. I didn't know it was a bird. I thought it was a ball. I didn't know it was a bird's egg. I was a kid, you know, I was a little person. And I took it and threw it because I thought it was a ball. And I found out it was a bird. And all I could stop thinking is I hurt a living thing. And it was awful. And so in that near-death experience, the people behind me said, "We have your bird. It's okay." I thought it was so sweet. And I knew they were my relatives, but I didn't know who they were, but yet I knew, but I didn't know who they were. So he said, I had to go. He said, "You have to go back." And he said, and I said, and then I saw him, I said, "I can't." I mean, you think, why? I don't know, when you know, he's a pretty big deal. I mean, there's so much love. I said, "Oh, well, I don't now. I don't want to go back." And he's like, "You can and you will." Like, he was really serious. And then he said, "But I'll always be with you." And I'm like, you know, don't worry about it. But the minute he says go, I had no choice. So, and so anyway, then I was back and my nose was broken and shattered. Matter of fact, as an adult, one at 18, one at, I think, 28, they kept removing cartilage from that. I mean, the fact that, I mean, it blows my mind that I had a contusion and I had a nail freaking go in the nail head through my head. And they were wondering if I would last because my brain was swelling. And then the next year, smashed up face. And I'm thinking, I have a pretty good IQ, didn't screw that up. And I don't look that bad. So, I mean, God's pretty good like that. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, look at you, Kirsty. I mean, it's kind of amazing. And then the next year was the big one. And so she ended up marrying the guy. It was God, it was awful. So I stayed in comfort and love with my grandparents. When she left, we ended up in this really crappy, not a good one either, trailer. You know what trailers are there?
Yeah,
You guys have trailers?
Caravan
it's not good.
Type thing.
What do y'all call them?
Well, over here we'd call it a caravan. It's
Same
like
thing.
Yeah. But it's like one that's secure to the ground. You don't drive around in it. It stays in one place, right?
Yes, a caravan. Yes, that's what it was. So it was like a metal thing, and that's where he was. And I went, and it was in a dirt. Was other ones like it, but it was like dirt. All I could play was with mud pies. And I had one Snoopy doll. We ate like hot dogs every single day. It was horrible. So my grandparents didn't know where I was. Oh, I never told you this, Kirsty. This is cool. I don't think I've told anyone this. Anyway, so I'm stuck in this trailer caravan. My grandparents don't know where I am. And I'm not getting the care that I need. And so in the meantime, my mom's, I guess this went on a few months. So I was snatched from my grandparents who were kind of raising me. And so I am in this trailer. My room is so small. There are closets that are bigger. It was not good. So my mom was doing some type of temporary secretarial type work. And so she would leave. And one time he was there, and we're all women. So here we go. Sexual molestation started, but it was more creepy than what people think. It was more like a pervert, you know, like, "Hey, let's play a game," you know. And I'm like, you know, I mean, I'm small, I'm little. And so I didn't know what that was, you know, but he would bring his, and I didn't know. And so, but I knew it was bad, and I really wanted out of there. So really cool. And so I'm laying in the bed, and there was a commercial on TV at the time, and it was animated with little cartoon characters, and they were marching down the street. It was like over a sausage commercial or something. And they were like, "Valley del Sausage, ooh, 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 Valley del, hooray for Valley." And I got so excited seeing that commercial. So I visualized my little friends, cartoon friends, would show me the way to get out. So what? Oh yeah, this gets cool. So what I did is that when she for some reason they left me alone. She goes, I'll be back. You just sit here and watch TV. Okay. For some reason they left me alone. And I picked up the phone, and you gotta think, I was a little person. I didn't know how to use a telephone. I picked up the phone. I called my grandparents, which that's a pretty big deal because I didn't even know numbers or things. I mean, I was just really small. And I told them street by street, everywhere where I was 20 minutes away. I can't even do that as an adult. Tell someone how to get to my house 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
They found me. They drove. Any of my family said, "How did they know? How did you know that?" That's when I was remote viewing and out of body travel because I was being molested, so it would leave my body. I didn't do it because I think I'm super spiritually cool. I did it out of a horrible situation. So my grandparents showed up and came and got me, and here we go. So anyway, they ended up getting married, and at 5, so that was like 3.5, 4. Now I'm in 5, and they moved 2.5 hours away. He got a job somewhere else. So I'm like, great. Now I'm really stranded with him. And then the abuse really got bad. And so I started praying to God, and I said, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm 5 years old. I don't know what this is, but I can't do it. And so I would say, God, can you just kill him? I wasn't trying to be mean. Okay. I just wanted it to end. I wasn't like, kill him. I didn't really know what that meant. I just said, well, okay, well, if you can't take him, just take me. And so I got sick with a strep throat, and I was never told this. My mom, she never talked about any of this, by the way. And a lot of times, and I want to make a little notation here. If you think you might have had a near-death experience, you might want to look in areas where you think you've been sick or had a high fever as a child. However, a lot of family members do not want this stuff to come out because sometimes there's situations surrounding it they don't want you to know about. So in this case, she didn't want me to know about it. Why? Because she was neglectful. They both were. And so, it makes them feel bad. They didn't want to talk about it. So I thought for years it was to protect me, but I don't think so. I don't really think it was like that. So what happened is I got this fever. I ended up getting very, very sick, losing consciousness. She put me in the bathtub with ice. She wanted to take me to the hospital. And at the time, her husband, he was adopting me, which I didn't want that, but that's what happened. And they end up finally taking me to the hospital, but only till my fever is about 105. So kind of late. So I die on the way to the hospital, and and it was the time of Dr. Martin Luther King was shot. So I'm above the car in the South, above the car, looking at the riots and the fires. And I was above the car, and I died on it. There was no consciousness there. My breathing was so shallow. And I remember her cussing him out. Really bad. You killed my bleepity bleep daughter really badly. I remember hearing all that. And I could hear it from above. It was kind of, again, it's like my senses were amplified. So what happened is they go to a barricade because they had National Guard out, and they said, what are you doing out? And he said, my daughter, even though I really wasn't his daughter at that point, he was going through this adoption, whatever thing with me. And so we go through, and they said, well, can we call ahead of the hospital? So they did, and they were aware we were coming, because you had different stations you had to stop at, and they let us through, and they let us to the hospital. They were already waiting for me when we got there, the hospital, the doctors and all that. And when I got to the hospital in the room, I was following my body from behind. I really didn't care. I was like, oh, that's sort of interesting. I really wasn't even that interested. Now, in a normal state right now, yeah, I am. But in that state, it's hard to explain because it's not to our understanding to not be interested in her body. But in that state, I don't know. What about you, Kirsty? I didn't really care. I mean, I sort of mildly was interested.
Yeah, I think I so focused on just what was there,
what's going on here?
Yeah, I wasn't really concerned with my body at all.
Yeah, I was more interested, now, what are they doing? Now, what's going on? I was more interested in that. And And I get to this room, and I remember the lights and all that, and they were saying code blue. They were saying that I had been dead at least 15 minutes on arrival. I don't know how long I stayed dead, but they had clocked me in at being at least 15 minutes. And so, because it was a long way to go where we were going. And I actually remembered the name 3 years ago, the hospital, Rex Hospital, like a T-Rex. And I told it to I brought this up to my mom, and she looked mortified that I remember, because she worked so hard that I would not know.
Yeah, right.
She was more, so just telling you, sometimes parents don't want you to know. I'm just, just saying. So I would leave the room. I'd go back and check on my body. I was kind of looking at a candy machine outside. I was talking to spirit people that were crossing over. Hey, how's it going? And they seemed very upset. I was like, I thought it was great. I was fast as a bullet. I was zoomed through the halls. And then I would go back and check my body, and they would take more CCs out and blah, blah, blah. And they read all these, they would saying technical things. And I didn't really know. I was always told that I had a strep throat, and I went to the urgent care. Wrong. And I actually described a procedure to a nurse, and she goes, they were pumping out liquids out of your fluids out of your lungs. And so what happened is my lungs collapsed, and they were trying to get a pulse. So they would go tell my mom. They would say, we're trying to get her vitals, but she didn't know what they were talking about. I was dead. She didn't get that. They were trying to be nice, like trying to get her vitals, but she didn't understand that. So that's when I saw two Catholic, they were spirit people, which is kind of interesting. They were a woman and a man. I guess she was a nun, and he was, whatever, some type of priest. And she had a rosary, and she had the whole nun thing. But they said, bless her the children. But I knew them to be spirit. So they come to find out later, really not that long ago, that I looked up the hospital. That used to be an older hospital on the premises that was a Catholic hospital. So they must have been with the first hospital, and they show up when someone needs them. I don't know. I guess they take their job seriously in their ministry. And then I saw Jesus. There was a man holding my hand. I looked down, and he had like this great smile. And I said, you're that man I talked to, because my grandmother mentioned him. Now say him in your prayers and blah, 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 which is who I talked to, like, get me out of this situation. And so he was smiling. He said, I am. And he said, well, you have to go back. And I saw kids playing in this beautiful pasture and field. And I said, well, they're here. Can I stay? And he said, no, you're going to have to go back. He said, but I have something for you. And I said, a toy, because I'm 5. And he thought that was funny. And he said, no. And he took off, he kind of stood up, and he had a rope belt. And it's like he took part of his rope belt, and he wrapped it around my, like a friendship bracelet on the left side. And he says, I wrap you in my love, protection, and wisdom. Much is given. Through the small things, the big things would be accomplished. And through the big things, the small things would be done. Or what did he say? Through the small things, the big things would be accomplished. And through the big things, the small things would be known. So and now I still think about that too, like with our interactions, Kirsty. To me, I'm not saying it's small, but you're saying it's another interview. But to me, after our talk, it was big. There's ripple. It was huge. It's like ripple effect. Something spiritual is going on, huge. And so I was like, that must have been what he was talking about. So he let me stay there, and I really begged. I'm like, I don't want to go back. At this point, I'm in the higher level of what you consider heaven. It looked like paradise. The grass was really green. When he walked, every blade of grass, every flower there was a tree there, and it had flowers on. It was a beautiful tree, and it looked like a cherry blossom, but it had little red, it looks like little grapes on it. And we walked, and as we walked, every little blade, every little petal followed him, and the clouds followed him. And I was thinking, does he know that they're all following him? And they all followed, like even the shadows. And there was a couple, it's a pretty clear day, but everything did. And he said, well, all right, you can ask me a few questions, and you have to go back. And a lot of that's still coming out. So we sat on this rock in front of this tree, and he says, we don't eat from this tree. And, I wasn't thinking about eating from the tree, but he was saying the importance of it is wise. It actually, you would have thought I would have known this, but honestly, it was till recently. I know that it was the tree of life. Don't know why I didn't think about it earlier, but, yeah, because I knew I couldn't go past that mark. I could not go past that. And he began to tell me how things work, how life works, how that we manifest with our thoughts, and that we should be very mindful of what we say, because what we say manifest. So like, for example, I've even told my husband, like, he'll go, oh my God, we just so-and-so, we're getting no money. We're just going to be broke. I said, oh, erase it, erase that. Be very careful, because you put it out in the universe. So it's like saying, oh, all men are jerks. Well, who are you going to meet? You've got no other choice but to meet a jerky man. So he said, be very mindful of what you say, because you're manifest. He said, now we manifest immediately in heaven. It takes longer on earth. And I said, like how? So can I do an example? He says, okay.
Yeah, so, go for it.
And so he said, so I thought of a little boat, and we were in the water in a little boat. And then some little fish came up, and he takes one out of the water and he talks to it and he puts it back in. He goes, this is how we fish here. So it's quick. And I will tell you, as a medium, which I did not want to do this for most of my life, but I have no filter with them on the other side. And they're only the good ones, only the heaven ones, not the lower vibrational ghost ones. I'm like, no thanks. That experience of doing something there has come through in readings where they do stuff there. And sometimes it's evidential, what they do. There was a guy who's a famous guy who there was movies done from him here, The French Connection, Papa Dole, and he took down, it was a policeman in Chicago, and he took down the mob. And I was in New York doing a medium demonstration, and I was describing this man and how tough he was and what he looked like and what he did and all this stuff. And then people were pointing to this one woman, and she was crying. And I thought, well, this must be for her. And I didn't know I was reading someone famous. I didn't know. And it ended up, he told her that, he saw her kids, what they're doing. They need haircuts. And then he said, what he's doing in heaven is he has a big motorcycle, like with the windshield. And he said, you don't get hurt there. And he's riding. She said that was the style motorcycle he had. And he said that she had his whistle, but they come through all the time doing stuff there. They do things there. And so when so I spent a while with him. And when he said I had to go back, I did, but I didn't listen. I'm so difficult. I went back, but I didn't get my body. I just kind of roamed around the hospital like an angel helping out people. And matter of fact, there was a spirit person, Dr. Tippin, he said. He was bald-headed with a bow tie. And he said, I guess he was the hospital director at one point. And he said, little girl, he called me little girl, you need to go, you need to get in your body. I said, no, I'm not going to get in my body. It's going to hurt. And I don't want to do that. And I refused to get in. But then Jesus showed up, and he said, I need a t-shirt. And then Jesus showed up. And he said, you are, and you will. And I said, but I can't, it's going to hurt. And I was in a tent, a breathing tent. I was in at the hospital. And he said, I prepared it for you. And as soon as he said that, I went back and I was aware. So that experience above all, and that's in my book, and more of the details, Love from Heaven. To me, that feels like it's really living, because it's, how do I say it? There is no, there's time for us here. Okay. Time marches on here. We get older, things decay, right? Seasons change. Over there, it's eternally eternal. It doesn't mean, and it doesn't age. No one rot, no one's get older. It's, and so what does that mean? In this world of spirit, which is who our true nature is, I'm not so sure there's a past life or a future life. It is just life. And I know that's a tough one. Which is, I always blame that on my reason for time issues. But but seriously, there's no, is not like time here. So what does that mean? That moment with Jesus is still living within me. And so it, I told him, I said, I can't go back and do this. I cannot do this. I cannot do this life. And he said, I will send you someone. And he sent me, which I didn't know at the time at 5 years old, but he sent me my husband. I was 19, which sounds really young, but none of you been abused. He got me before I became too damaged. He got me, he had so much love in his heart, and he's such a gentle person that it gave me like a fresh start. I mean, he was so kind and gentle, and he's kind of saintly, I think. And so I didn't know it was him, but I know it was him. And he will say things through my husband a lot of times, because my husband will say it, but he doesn't know he's saying actually exactly what Jesus told me earlier in my head. And it makes me giggle. So, because my husband doesn't, think of himself special or anything at all. But I had another one at 28, and I had a reaction to a pill I took. And that's it. It was just one pill. It was a doctor prescribed. It was for menstrual migraines. And I woke up in the middle of the night, like bells went off. I could not talk. I could not wake my husband up. And I don't know why I did this, but I just kind of forced myself up like a zombie. And I went into the other room, the living room, to turn on the television. And I did that because I wanted to focus on words and hearing things. But what happened very shortly after that is that that sound where it goes, like, well, that's not good. And then I got very frightened, and I knew that didn't last long. I got very frightened, and then I didn't care. That's what's next. And then I began seeing my living room break up in lines. Have you ever seen The Matrix?
Yeah.
That movie, and I was like, oh my God, everything was held together by lines. So I knew I was seeing it with spirit eyes. And then after I saw everything lines, then I was outside, and then I was boom, really quick, kind of in space, galaxy, whatever. But before that happened, I didn't know I was male or female. And so at the same time, I was far away, like kind of in space. It's very hard to explain. I was also sitting on the sofa. It's really hard to explain. You're like, how is that? I can't explain it. It's sort of, I guess it would be like you here working on your computer, thinking about your kids. It's like two things at once.
Yeah.
And so I knew, okay, you took one pill. You're not going to die. So I took one finger, and I kept pushing myself back in my body to eventually I came back in. I don't think I went to the highest levels at that one. I just think I broke down a little bit of spirit and popped out. Was it a near death? Yeah, I think I was dying. I just think I had a reaction, but I didn't go that far. Come to find out, at the Monroe Institute, and you can get books on it. William Buhlman is running it now. I think Robert Monroe started it, and you can get all the books, but it's HemiSync, and it's where it can take you to different levels of near-death states. And that's someone who I want to interview at the Monroe Institute. You got to do that too. That'll be cool. But that's one of the levels. It's the lines. Someone told me that. I said, you got to be kidding me. I never knew that. I said, the lines are a level. But to me, I think, why do people go through these things and others don't? I think it's permission. It's always, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. So if you're like, I really want to know, I'm in, let's go. Maybe it's not a near-death experience, but maybe it's something that shakes you up, or something that gets you to look. I totally believe that spirit, and when I say spirit, I'm talking about Team God again. And yeah, spirit families over there too. Yeah. But they always hear you. They hear you. And also people that are like, I'm done with this life. I'm done. They hear that too. How can the universe not? So, I think that I'm no different than any of you. It's just that I've been kind of woken up, and other people, and I think other people see in bits and pieces and parts, but we're still all spirit. We all know each other, but we've forgotten that. And the planet's very small. I mean, think about it. It's just, I mean, this is just planet Earth. It's really not that big, right? Here we are talking America, New Zealand. It's very small these days. We've lived forever. Look, I have been in, you know, I have done past life, about 300 hours past life. I don't know past life. It's some life, some dimensional form of whatever. And it was very detailed. We live forever. It's not like we can really get hurt because we keep coming back. Why? I don't know, but we do. So, but we are, I believe that we come back each time forgetting, because if we remembered probably all the crappy stuff we did, we wouldn't have a fresh slate, right? So that's why we don't remember, because we want to give ourselves a clean shot at things.
Yeah, I love that. And saying that though, Tamara, this is the question I always get, is why do we come here? What's your thoughts on that?
Is. It's love. We're here because to develop our soul, right? We're here to develop our soul. The moment you go, I'm finished learning, you know what? You're out of here. God's going to pluck you right out. He's going to pluck you right out of here. If you go, I'm good, I know everything, or I'm done. And I don't know what form that would happen, but we're here learning. And then we also have agreement. So in the in-between states, you have a team of people that meet with you, and then you agree to certain things. You agree to like, okay, I'll agree. There's certain things that are set and certain things that aren't. So you may agree to be, okay, I'm going to be okay, yeah, I'll agree to be a mother. Okay. And you're going to end up having 2 kids. Fine. But then there's things that are extra credit. You may accomplish more than what you had in your contract, and that's just a bonus, but you're here to learn. The reason that we stay grounded here is because we love people here. Simple, right? I mean, the reason that we're attached here, we complain and we bitch, we don't like this place, but we love, we love people here, right? There's people that we don't want to leave our husbands. Well, some anyway, don't, their kids, their life, their pets, and we become engaged. And the other aspect of being spiritual, there has to be a balance, because the reason we're put here as spiritual beings is so we can have a human experience. So if you see people that meditate and all the time and they're so out of their head, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's balance. And if you do it too much and become too out there, then you're forgetting the whole point. You're here to also have a human experience. You need to be grounded. I have to tell you this. So you know the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've had, look, it's Saturday night here at 8:30. I'm letting it hang out. So
go for it. We can do the Beatles.
We're going to talk. You're like, why are we doing this? Okay. So 4 years ago, I'm asleep. I'm asleep. And I wake up because Jesus brings me George Harrison. I'm like, that's George Harrison from the Beatles. He goes, yeah, he's with me. I was like, okay. So he talked to me like 4 hours, very detailed. I got up, I wrote everything down, and he gave me a lot of wisdom. And it's funny because wasn't before. Well, I wouldn't really, I like the Beatles, but it wasn't like I was a big fan. Now I really like the Beatles because Jesus said all their music's channeled. It's all at a higher level. And think about it. If you go back and listen to simple songs, there's a thread of something with truth that it's lasted so long. And there's something that's a higher vibration. That's why it has stayed around. So this is what he told me. And he had a white long tunic. And he looked like the version where he sang My Sweet Lord. That's what he looked like. He looked like Jesus' brother. And I really felt like they were brothers. Don't really know what that means, but I do. And he walked around it and he said, in this life, he said that all he wanted to do was get to know God and be spiritual. And he said, but you got to be careful. And he goes, why? He goes, well, you don't want to end up like me. I said, what happened? He said, well, he bought this, and I don't know this was true. I had to find this out. He said he bought this at campus, and I don't know if it was like a monastery or it would seem like a religious school or a monastery. And he's showing me, and he said he bought this, and he had his house there. He had his recording studio. He said he grew organic food. He said that he got so high in vibration he couldn't eat regular food like grease or hamburger meat. He said he would have been really sick. He couldn't hear street noises, you know, like in cities, because it bothered him too much. So he could only have people come to his location. And he said he got to the point he was so spiritually, like he just wanted to like talk to God all the time. Like he was ready to, and I sound like to go because he, you know, that's where he lived. He said his music didn't even give him joy. And he said, this is what's important. He said, I love my family, and that's what kept me here. He said, however, when you lose touch with this world and you become so ascended, he said that you become ungrounded to this place. And he said, you need to live a normal life. You don't need to be so advanced that you can't relate to people in this world anymore, and that you don't take pleasure in the things other people do. He could not just show up at a restaurant and talk to people. The sound would have bothered him, and he couldn't eat probably half the things there. And so he told me, I said, like what? He said, go pet your dog, go take a walk in nature. And he even laughed. He said, go have a glass of wine. You know, I mean, like just be human. And he showed me like telepathy. He showed me very quickly. And then visualizations, he showed me like, I like taking bubble baths, you know, with Epsom salt, and then something that smells good, and just relaxing with some champagne, of course. And you're like, hey, wait a minute, we're going to do that later on. That's a great idea. And then you put do not disturb, and just chill. But he said, even when you take care of like a pet, and you have sometimes, you know, they poop or you got to clean. He said, that's grounded gardening. And he said, and what grounded me for a long time with martial arts, because I'm a black belt, and it was a Korean American combatives and Hapkido. And I was the only woman out of 10 years that ever made it through the program. And as you tell, I'm not really, I'm girly, you know, so it was challenging. I came in there initially with these really long nails, you know, and I'm here, and they looked, I really had no clue. And I was the only woman, and and the men were very tough on me, and I'm like 5'2". And I wanted to regain my sense of self, because I had been victimized. And so I decided not to be a victim. And I mean, for your black belt, you have to break a board with your fist.
That's pretty hard.
Some of the guys couldn't do it. I did. I always broke my boards, because if you have to commit, because if you don't, you hurt yourself. And so I always did well like that. But it, you know, I have my spine's like 40% off, and then my neck's like 20. I mean, my spine's not great. I had scoliosis, they never called it. I said, no, that's not going to stop me. I'm going to do it anyway. And nobody knew that whole time that my spine looks like the elephant woman. I did it anyway. So, here's the thing. If you never went to Disney World, you think, well, it won't be the same. I'm grown. Yeah, you can go to Disney World. You totally will fulfill the childhood thing. I did that. And it was fine. Mark it off the bucket list. You don't have to, you're still the same soul being. We just get older. So if there's something you want to do, you need to do it. You're like, well, I'm older. That has nothing to do with it. You're still the same person. So I felt better that I did that, but you have to be aware, because you can hurt yourself or hurt somebody else. So you have to be really aware and in the present moment. And so, the thing about all this spirituality, and so I think that people don't realize that God's with them all the time, and they are from heaven. They are part of God. So by default, everybody kind of already is blessed. We're here.
Yeah,
If
totally.
God didn't want us here, he would just take us out.
Yeah, I love this, Tamara. I love you've got quite a lot of experiences going on there. So you've had your 6 near-death experiences. How did that then take you? And I'd love to open this up for a bit of Q&A as well to hear people's questions. But how did this take you from those experiences then into understanding that you had these spiritual gifts and this mediumship abilities? And what did that journey look like for where you were to where you are today?
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a good one. Okay. So I started seeing spirit people at 3, but I didn't know that was a big deal because they were really friendly. So
Like the
they're
ones
just
in the
like,
NDA?
yeah, they're just
Yep.
like you guys. So I don't, I love talking to people. I love talking to people even when I was dead. Hey, how's it going? And so
I can imagine it.
you're still going to be interviewing. So how was your day? No, really, it doesn't change. And so I didn't tell anyone. When I told my mom things and I knew things ahead of time, she didn't like that so much. And I began to get a bad reaction. So I knew to shut up. I wasn't stupid. I knew shut it down. So what happened is because I've always been this way, knowing things, seeing spirit people, full communication. Because honestly, I'd rather talk to spirit people than my family growing up because they were very mentally unstable. I like the spirit people; they were very nice. I will tell you though, there were times that when I was growing up, I did see some dark stuff because part of that is you see different dimensions, and there are darker dimensions, and I would see darker stuff, and then I would like pray, and I still do. I can see angels and demons. The demons are afraid of me now. They know my team God. They know I don't play. They don't know. I bring out a can of whoop ass Jesus. But the thing is, I walk in the light of God. I'm cool. Stay away. But it's multiple. Just like there's bad people out there, but we don't think about it because we don't want to think about that and keep them over there. But as time went on, I integrated it into my life as a normal way of being. And so it's funny when I came out. So how did I come out as a medium? So let me just jump. Okay. So I went to school. I went to a university for advertising and marketing. And I'm a visual designer and a writer and a slogan writer. And I work, and then eventually, own my own advertising agency, like 27 years and won full campaigns and so forth. And I became very disillusioned with that. And I couldn't figure out why. Here's the thing. When Team God's talking to you, it's probably not good to ignore them, but I did. And when you do, it gets stronger. And to the point that, like, I think when I interviewed Ingrid, I don't know if you have, she's awesome too.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's really great energy. She said that she was told to move on to other things, and she didn't. They put her in the hospital. So what I did, I wasn't trying to be resistant, but I was. So I ended up losing my business. I just would not listen. And so I did everything. And the more I go out and see people, the more it was just really nutty. It was time they were calling me in for service for what I agreed on. So I couldn't understand it. This went on quite a while because I was so resistant. I was like, why is this happening? I mean, I really wouldn't let it go. I wouldn't, I wanted to control things. And so one of the first things I did is I started being, it opened up some free time. And I don't really admit this all the time, but it's part of my development. I initially, for 2 years, ghost hunt. And the reason being is I was hiding. I didn't want anybody to know about my abilities. So I would go out and say, well, let's see if they work. So what happened is I would go to historical places. I would get the whole thing on the history, the spirit people. And then I had like teams of 50 people follow me. So I wasn't really secret for long. And then I don't think the ghost hunters really like me too much because I always try to cross them over. Because think about it, ghosts are people that are a bit sad and confused. They say they were sad and confused in life. And now they didn't, God is perfect in that way. And the angels are getting people to come over, but they could say no. And so I think it's sad. I don't think you should leave people in a very sad, lost state. So I was like, look, good news. Let me show you home. And so a lot of people like haunted places. They didn't like me coming and clearing it out. So,
Exactly.
so I did that. And then I realized, I was like, God, I hit it. And I thought, well, I'm quite good at it. And then so what I did is after that, it was the very thing that I did not want to come out. It's absolutely did not think this would be the thing that would come out. During school and college, I would give people, I didn't do readings, but I was just, that was just my personality wrapped into it. But later on, when I came out professionally, people said, oh, you've always been like that. So, but I did study 8 years in the evidential style of mediumship and the British style, because I wanted to be able to offer, I'm just like that though, excellence at whatever I do. Like if you're, in broadcast, you take broadcast class, or whatever I do, if you're a plumber, be the best plumber, go take the class. So I wanted to do that so I could hold myself up against, so I could do this internationally and hold myself up against anyone. And that was the thought process. So the first time it was seriously a couple years of the ghost hunting, and I went to, it was the Omega Institute, Janet Novahack. It was in New York, the Omega Institute, New York. And it was just in the middle of these beautiful woods. It's like this hippie campus, as I could say. And they served this food that gave everybody diarrhea there. It was like, oh my God, it was like granola city. It was like no meat and granola city. And so John Holland was there with Janet Novahack, who is a medium. Her book is Between Two Worlds, and he did Psychic Navigator and Born Knowing. Anyway, so I went to take the class. There's 65 mediums in this room. I guess US, Canada, and England. Now we had some other people too in different places, but it was funny because on the way I'm like on the plane talking to a guy going, really? I cannot believe I'm doing this. I paid for the class. I'm going to be there a week. And and I'm saying, all right, I need signs. Otherwise I'm coming home. This is crazy. So I'm in the airplane. You have to take, I went to like from the Carolinas, Pittsburgh, and then you have to take another shuttle to go to this teeny little place up in New York. It's not like the city. It's like real woodsy. And so I need a sign. So I'm on this now commuter type plane. It's not a big one, but it's not too small either. And this big blonde haired guy gets on there with this really pretty Indian lady, and they're young. And I'm like, wow, and I'm going, oh, that's an interesting couple. He's so tall and she's so little. And he turns around to sit down, and I said, pardon me. I said, you got to be shitting me. You won't believe what it said. It said, I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I took a picture of it. I got to find that picture. It says, all week long, spirit communication. It was done like a Vincent Price thing, the back of a shirt.
Wow.
And I went, oh my God, this is crazy. And so then I kept seeing signs. I saw my number's 22, my lucky number is my birthday. On the plane, it was 22. This went on all week. And so I go there. Had not done this professionally or done anything. Matter of fact, I hid from it. So I was like, if I suck, I'm just going home. I'm just going to give it a go. So out of everyone, I did the exercise as well. And then at the very end, the last day, he was letting people come up on stage. And so Spirit said to me in my ear, take your spot. And I stood straight up. And he goes, well, come on the stage. I'm like, I go up on stage. They moved my body because of my physical medium too. They moved my body. They went through everything. And it was like, I knew that was what I was born to do, because I saw people that had been doing it for years crying, and they said, oh my God, you're great. How long have you been doing it? And I'm going, this evening.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, I love it when things get fast tracked. We don't have to go through the hard stuff. Just take us there.
And that's the other thing, like, a normal life, you do this, you get married, then you got to wait, you got to build yourself up in the career. I have to tell you about the God way. Okay. My old way, let me do the planograms and whatever. My way now is like, let me be in gratitude and give you my love, and let me wait for what you have for me. And usually I don't have to wait long. And it's a totally different way. But within 5 years from going to the Omega, and then I trained with Lisa Williams and Tony Stockwell. And then I think it was within 5 years. Now, so it's been 8 years since I've come out. I mean, I'm not, this is a God thing. I'm totally known internationally, even at a high level. There are people I've been approached by different TV stations, but I don't do anything unless it feels right. And it hasn't felt right because my integrity and ethics mean more than anything. And I don't promote the dark, only God. But when God wants you to do something, he will take, you ever tried stuff and you try and you're like, God almighty, I mean, when's it going to happen? And then you do something else. And I've told my husband, that just seems like forever. He goes, honey, really within the last 4, you're known like everywhere. Do you know most people work their whole life? But that's a God thing. When God wants to bring you, whether it's a yoga teacher or whatever it is, he will take you and he will fast track you, right?
Yeah. If it's meant to be, then that can happen for sure. Yeah.
Well, he's doing that with you.
Oh, that would be really nice. There's a lot of work going in.
And New Zealand better appreciate you because you are definitely international. You're going to go massive places. You're going to,
Thank you.
You're going to
That's lovely. Too. Oh, cool. That would be really fun. I love travel.
After this COVID business is
well, yeah, exactly. When the borders are reopened. Yeah. I'd love to just open this up to the group. We've probably got about 20 more minutes, Tamara. I'm finding this so interesting, and I get a little bit biased because I know your story and we chat, and I feel like there's so much there. I want to open it up so that the group can ask some questions or, really just get some great value out of this conversation today. So if you have a question, you can either raise your hand physically, you can pop it into the chat, or you can there's a raise hand feature, or just do a reaction or something. If you have a question that you would like to ask for Tamara, and that can be about anything, about her experiences, about the work that she's doing, about her concepts and thoughts on things. And if you don't, then I love asking questions, and I'm just going to keep going with my questions. So now is your chance to raise your hand if you have a question. If you're on the screen, you can type it into the chat box. Okay. Well, while people are potentially doing that or getting was that a question?
Okay.
No?
Okay. Well, go ahead. And yeah, you can ask me whatever, or like I said, I can do some quick mini readings too.
Yeah. Well, do you want to go into that? That would be really wonderful to see where you're led.
Matter.
Yeah. No, let's do that.
Whatever you
want.
Let's
do that because I have we do have. I would love a mini reading. Yeah, let's go for that. So let's just see where you feel led.
Turn out. Okay, now you want to know about me, but you want to know about you. Okay,
isn't that funny? We're curious like that.
Okay. All right. No, that's okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So who said it first?